Hello, and welcome back to Therapist Plays Disco Elysium. So, on today's episode, we are still exploring the mysterious world behind the curtain in Plaisance bookstore. And this has been kind of a challenging side quest to explore from a psychological perspective because there's such a contrast between Plaisance, sort of paranatural explanation for this, and the sense that there's actually probably just some real, naturalistic, grounded, very depressing explanation for why all of this stuff is happening and why things have gone so bad in the commercial district. We're going to get into all of that, as well as the sort of fine line that you have to walk as a therapist when you are trying to help people in situations that they can't necessarily explain and may have alternative ways of explaining them than what might seem obvious at first. This is kind of a long and rambly episode, but look, if you have sat through 55 of them thus far, first of all, thank you. I'm surprised, as you are, that it's taken so long and that you're still here, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, you know what you're getting by now. However, you may be surprised by the turn that we take at the end of this episode. If you have been curious if I will be exploring a political subquest in this game, we have a new opportunity for that, and my decision may surprise you. So I hope you enjoy. I'm looking forward to hear your thoughts, so let's jump in. All right, welcome back. And let's continue our adventure here. So, there's actually still some more to explore upstairs. And then we're gonna go talk to Suna about what we found. We talked to the kids in the church. Get our gun. And keep going here. You may have learned by now, I need to like say aloud what I'm doing. Which is something that I do for my life all the time. My process of journaling is to voice record. I do like voice memos, and I walk around my apartment and I talk to myself, and record the dialogue. And many times it is just me repeating. Like when I start this game, I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's why I'm doing it. It's just like checking in with myself. So it's like playing this game is. If I'm doing it in this game, it's probably pathological to what I'm doing in real life. In terms of like habits. Not what I'm making the character do, because we have him doing some sort of things, but like the way I play it, it's my life. It's scattered, attempting organization, needing to constantly repeat the goals and agenda. That's just... And I think that if you observed people playing video games in general, that's kind of what you would find. You would find that the way they play games is kind of like their life. Okay.
You see a terrifying ice bear with a strange compartment in its belly. The door is covered in frost, and the bear's eyes are glowing red.
Okay.
This ice bear is a hyper-carnivore. Be careful.
I thank you, Half-Life, for keeping me on my toes here. What is this thing? It looks like a giant ice bear.
The lieutenant doesn't answer. His eyes are glued to the animal. A sharp slice of light shines out from its mysterious belly door.
Let's crack it open.
A gust of freezing cold air rushes to greet you. You hear a low grumble as the bear regulates itself. This is the inside of a refrigerator.
I don't know why I was expecting something else. Of course it's a refrigerator.
The lieutenant takes a peek inside. His hand has found the holster of his gun.
Maybe it's because I'm reading Kim's vibe. We can't necessarily trust our own perception, like I was talking about in the last episode. We have a bit of magical thinking going on. Maybe some disorderly perception. So Kim is the one I look to for the rational, sane take on whatever it is we're doing. And if he's got his pistol by his ready, where's my gun? Do I need to go get my gun before we come back here? I don't think we would be saying this. I don't think we would be like, no, Kim, it's just a fridge. We're like, oh shit, what's with this real frozen bear having a interdimensional portal in its belly? Let's take a look inside.
The shelves are empty. All you see are crumpled ice cream wrappers with the brand name, Revachol Ice City. A handwritten note has been attached to the door. The fridge is huge.
Let's take the note.
You pocket the note and the little fridge magnets keeping it on the door.
Take a look at those ice cream wrappers.
A friendly cartoon bear smiles back at you from a glossy cellophane wrapper. It looks nothing like the fridge.
What is a giant bear-shaped fridge doing in an abandoned cellar in the first place?
Good question. It looks like an ice cream fridge.
What the fuck? Why are you putting your hand on your pistol? And then coming with this very sane, cold take that, oh, it's just a fridge. I feel like he's messing with us. Look, we've also got our hand. We've got our hand on our fucking saber, though. So they tried to sell ice cream from this hypercar.
I know. What an unfortunate marketing choice. What is even worse, the bear is still costing them money to this day.
The lieutenant points at the red, snaky cable running from the fridge.
The fridge buzzes with energy. The electricity bill on this thing must be catastrophic.
That's it? What? I don't know why I expected, like, another side quest to emerge out of this thing. I appreciate the flavor text, though. Oh. Got some mag? What do I got in here?
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. Looks like this furnace has a face, and it's a face of agony.
Here we go again. It's not just a furnace, it's a face. It's, what is that called? Where you see faces and everything. Pareidolia, that's what it was. I couldn't think of it. Yeah, we may have a bit of pareidolia going on. Okay. Let's take a look inside.
It's dark and grimy here. In the darkness you can hear chatter. It's coming from above. A voice or several voices talking to each other. Near the smoke chamber, upstairs.
What are you doing?
Yeah, we climbed halfway into the furnace. I'm hallucinating. Possibly true. I hear the murderer of the hanged man talking. I'm not sure, but I can hear someone talking upstairs. This is fascinating. This is going very much along the lines of what I was talking about last episode. Where Harry's perception of things really does go beyond, like, the game is being eloquent with how it portrays a furnace. Like, clearly this is his perception, especially because it's coming from his skill, his internalization. That things have more meaning. It's not just voices. It's not just sound. It's voices. It's not just voices. It's the hanged man, or the murder of the hanged man. Like, it totally makes sense we would lean into that.
Wait, really? We should investigate, see if someone's upstairs.
Kim, what is this thing? Is it a furnace?
Looks like it. Looks like an old central furnace used to heat the building. It's connected to the chimney.
He opens the door and gingerly peeks inside.
No one has used it in ages. No signs of any recent fire. Only dead rats.
Let's take a look at that coal.
A lush layer of coal now covers your skin, sinking into the wrinkles. Your hands look ancient. You feel the spirit of Ramut Karzai, ancient hero of Grad, pulsing through you. All that's left is to cover your face in war paint.
What? I'm surprised our character knows about this at all, considering our encyclopedia is so bad. Why not? Why not?
3 dangerous stripes appear onto your cheeks, telling stories of your wild soul.
Yes, yes.
What are you doing?
and we're being brought back to reality. Okay, I'm gonna lean into that. Nothing. Sorry, that was stupid.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Kim, where would I be without your supervision? I love how it gives us this option. Now that I feel that it was stupid, I'm going to displace this stupidity not on myself, but on the furnace for making me do that, for making me embarrass myself in front of Kim. And I'm going to kick it, which is super in line with what our character has been doing. Like, kicking the fucking mailbox.
A hollow ring echoes through the furnace.
Even
Your
though that
toe
wasn't canon.
hurts.
This was canon. Okay, that was... what I just did is incredibly stupid. I guess there's nothing else up here. Oh, no, there is. Okay. What we got here? Some cash. That's much needed.
2 cables are plugged into the breaker box. The red one leads to the ice bear fridge, and the black one to the ice cream maker nearby.
Let's unplug that bear.
An electric sizzle. The room is slightly quieter now.
Was there... I mean, I guess we can unplug the ice cream machine.
Only the black cable is something
Why not?
close to you. Dark.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. Like I was saying, I'm playing this game the way life goes for me. I'm just curiously sort of exploring the area and clicking on any little thing I can click on. And seeing what happens. And what if I pull on this thing? The thing is my brain sees like the game world and its interactability as like they're things for me. This is a theme park for my character, right? That's kind of the way that I imagine Harry feels about anything that he can interact with. This is like a theme park. Like if it's there, it's designed for me to interact with it. I'm not just going to come up to a breaker box, see things that are unpluggable, have the thought that I can unplug them, and then just leave them there. I'm going to unplug them and see what happens. But then, of course, Kim, the very sober take is like, why are you doing that? I don't know why I unplugged it. I do things without any reason. That's literally the reason. I don't really know. I just thought, well, if the game wants me to interact with it, maybe I should.
The lieutenant raises his brows, but doesn't say anything. The electric distribution board now has one cable missing.
I'm going to plug them back in, because now I feel dumb again.
Somewhere in the dark, a giant electrical mammal stirs to life. Somewhere, a machine hums along with the current, happy and contented.
Why are we doing this? I don't know. I feel like this game is just... it is the perfect commentary on psychology. Like, the psychology of a person playing a video game. Like, oh, this is interactable. You wouldn't just leave it there. It's there for you. There's a quest behind it or something. But the writing is so grounded that the character's observation of your weird behaviors is like, why did you do that? And the fact that we get to respond in a very natural way, which is like, I don't know, I just did it. Oh, look where we are. Okay. I want to ask Annette's mom what the fuck we were doing back there before we move on to Suna.
You broke down the back door, the wards, the door. It's all gone now. Dark psychic energy leeching onto my shop.
I don't know what I was thinking. No, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking, this is here for me. I have a special purpose to interact with this thing. Sometimes it's necessary to resort to extreme measures.
I suppose it's all over now. I guess there's no escape.
Her shoulders slump as if a heavy burden lies on them. What are you talking about? It's just a door.
Just a door? This place is cursed, Detective. They don't call it the doomed commercial area for nothing. Just look at the sheer amount of companies that have failed in this house. I hope you're happy now. Happy that you've ruined everything. Now that you've broken the door, the curse is coming to get me as well.
Yes. Well, I'm not happy that I've ruined everything, but I accept it. I'm sorry. I didn't know about the curse.
Of course you didn't. You're nothing but a policeman. All right. You know what? I'm willing to let you investigate the doomed commercial area. We are set on the path. There's little else to do.
Her facade has dropped. Now you see the curiosity behind the fear.
Aha!
But before we go on, tell me, did you encounter the malignant entity?
It seems that, if you were to push past your own resistances to the psychological curiosities, you might have barged down that door yourself, Plaisance. The entity, I didn't see her, but I sensed her presence.
You did? Then it has to be true. I've suspected that this woman-shaped energy must be connected to the curse ever since I first saw her. Did you see that she lives inside the chimney?
I heard voices coming from the chimney. The chimney, the passage between heaven and hell, of course! Yes, we did hear voices, though.
Yes, I've heard that. It's enormous. She has barricaded herself behind some metal security curtains upstairs. God knows what she's doing there. Some unnatural magic, I assume. You should go find the entity and ask what happened to all the companies in the building. And do return to me after you've talked to it. I'm quite anxious to know what she has to say about the curse.
If you're really interested in cracking this mystery, then we should go back to the furnace. Maybe you could yell into it or something. Make some noise.
I'm very
Think of
interested
something. You always do.
in cracking this case. And thank you, Kim. I accept this as a compliment that I always think of something.
Despite his cool, the lieutenant's interested in solving this mystery too.
I knew it!
Okay, but please, only a few questions. You wouldn't want to disturb the spirits.
I love that this is happening now of all times, whereas like before, with the whole cryptozoologist side quest, like it was going on and on and on, and Kim was kind of like, dude, what are we doing? There really wasn't anything urgent going on. And he's like, why are you messing with these kids? Like, we've got a case to get to. In the meta sort of pacing of my roleplay, right now we have something important. In fact, we may even be late to our meeting to get the gun. Like, it's as urgent as it's ever been. but now Kim was like, hey, look, the gun can wait. Okay, there's a mystery to solve here. How does this curse manifest itself?
The curse is so much worse than you could imagine. It's a disease, eating at the very foundation.
A shiver runs through the woman as she looks around the dimly lit store. What I also find really interesting is perhaps we don't really know the effects of the Pale on everything. People have ideas, I think. And people who travel, like let's say Joyce, may know a little bit more about it. But there's probably sort of residual effects on all kinds of stuff that people can't explain and may not attribute to that right away. And so what they end up with is a bunch of unexplained minor phenomena. And like, what do we do as humans? We fill in the blanks. We're like, well, I can't explain this strange experience, so it's cursed. And it's a disease, and it sort of seeps into what sort of unprocessed fears you have, and gives them meaning.
It's the curse of financial distress, of ruin, and bankruptcy.
If I were doing therapy with Plaisance, I would be investigating this thoroughly. Because there's probably some economic anxiety there, right? And now here's where someone's gonna say, I thought you don't talk about politics in therapy. I wouldn't be talking about the political views she has. I'd say, okay, so your anxiety, many of the anxious thoughts that you're having revolve around not being able to support yourself. This is a fear of losing control of your life, a fear of not being able to provide for your daughter. It's a fear that you are in a place that has a history of failing, and you are worried about that happening as well. These are all very personal issues. Nowhere in that conversation do I need to ask her, so do you think capitalism is to blame for this? It's not really relevant. What's relevant is like the present emotional complex that she has and how we work through it.
Didn't that curtain just move?
Yes. Annette mentioned that previous tenants have experienced some financial troubles. We'll get there. Wait, what? That's it. I was hoping for something more paranatural.
But officer, there's nothing natural about entire companies declaring bankruptcy. I'm talking about cacodemons feeding off bad business practices and disappointing income statements.
As you can see, her views on why this is happening are not very grounded in real political subjects anyways. They're grounded in this stuff, like paranatural things.
There's something wrong with this building, I can tell you. Ever since I arrived, I've sensed an eerie lingering presence, as if I was unwanted here.
Which is sad, because there is a real non-paranatural force that is creating this feeling that she's not perceptive to, which is that actually, yeah, you are unwanted here. Just look at the fucking rest of the world. Like, it chews people up and spits them out. But again, we're just not there to solve that problem.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I feel unwanted too. What does it mean?
Truly so? Perhaps the dark energies are leeching off you. You shouldn't stay in the store too long. It may be dangerous.
I do feel like they're leeching. Why didn't you just tell me right away it's the curse?
It's not good to talk about the curse, not in detail. The negativism, it's dangerous. Talking about the void wraiths angers them.
Such wraiths may prove a formidable enemy. Suit up.
Have you sought help from anyone?
Yes, I've contacted numerous parapsychologists and even a pair of Simonese mediators. They provided me with the wards.
She nods at the strange cage-like trinket in the curtains.
The wards help to keep the doom at bay and protect us against the darkness that lies further in the building. Even though now I fear, it's not enough.
So this is something that I also encounter when dealing with people who have some sort of like alternate perception, let's say, of why things are happening. Because yes, I do work with people who are on the range of schizophrenia to people who don't have schizophrenia, but they do have some like beliefs that are a bit, let's say, like what we're hearing from Plaisance. My observation of that is like, okay, well, if I'm trying to understand why this person, it provides some kind of comfort to them, right? The wards that help keep my door closed so that I'm not affected by the curse. Like, this fear of being out of control of her situation and attributing it to this curse, but needing to have this store here and make a life for herself, they're in conflict. And so something has to pull those two ideas together to make her feel like there's an outlet for control here. Like, even if she's maybe even being scammed, right? There's this sense of like, I put these wards in, it makes me feel safe. And this validates the idea of the curse. And I imagine people have beliefs like this because it makes them feel a little bit in control. Like, look, I am not a praying person. I don't pray. I don't do that, right? But when I think about what the function of prayer is as a psychological mechanism, I kind of understand where people find comfort in it. Like, for example, like when I'm driving down the road, right, and I see someone who is unhoused, in my like very naturalistic brain, I'm thinking I can't really do much about that, and it's a rough realization often where you're like, man, I have a well source of empathy for people in general, especially someone who is having a hard time in life, but I also am very limited by what I feel like I'm capable of doing to help them, because their situation is not something that even a minor intervention by me personally is going to change, like the life around them that caused so many issues, right? So my psychology brain goes to like, man, this is such a shame. I feel bad, but I also feel even worse because there's nothing I can do. And most of the time it just means kind of going on with my day and having like a little bad moment for myself, right? There's a little bit of psychological protection in my personal brain because I work with a lot of people who are coming from that lifestyle into therapy, and I'm working with them, but I can't do it all. I can't help every single person, unhoused person. So just when I pass one on the street or something, I'm like, ooh, I have a little bad moment, a little bad humanity moment, and then I move on and I just feel bad, and there's no real resolution to that. I have to like convince myself, as I just did, that like I'm doing something for someone else who has a similar life, and like I have to do this whole little thing. People who pray, I imagine, don't get to bypass all that because they see someone who is having a hard time, and practically they look at that and say, yeah, there's nothing I can do. Well, they can say a little prayer for the person standing on the street corner, especially many times because their signs say God bless you or something, and they say a little prayer and then they feel like they've done something. Now, have they done anything? I don't know. Not really for me to say, but what I mean is it is a strong psychological sort of net that you can fall into, to be like, okay, well, I was able to do something productive with that source of empathy that I have, which is like say a prayer about them, think about them, hold a good intention for them, whatever. We're not going to get into whether that is actually doing anything for the person. But I'm just saying I understand where the psychological mechanism of prayer or doing stuff like Plaisance is coming from, where it's like, does putting curtains up between her bookstore and the upstairs where there is probably really nothing paranatural happening do anything? No, because one, there's no fucking demon up there, and she's not really in need of any sort of defense anyways. If I'm going purely like cynical, nothing's happening here. But if I were in Harry's body and his brain and I was thinking like Plaisance, I'd be like, yes, there's a demon up there. How else do you explain all of this fucking ravaged businesses and people's lives? Like, of course there's an unexplainable cursed phenomenon that's happening here, and that feels so unaddressable by me, the simple person. So having these like psychological barriers to defend against it, like the curtain is a ward of protection, and like this kind of shit, the superstition provides some comfort when the problem feels out of our control. And she's not wrong, the problem is out of her control, but it has to do with like broader economic factors, probably. So the feeling is not wrong, but maybe the process of resolving the feeling is a bit like misplaced. It's interesting. It is interesting. And that's why I keep coming back to like, okay, well, if I'm her psychologist, right, it would be the wrong agenda to sit there and be like, oh, what I'm hearing from this lady is bullshit. She's crazy. She's got weird ideas about magical barriers in her building, and all of this is just stupid. And what I really need to do is sober her up to the dose of reality and talk to her about the political reality that's causing these problems. Like, that's not my responsibility, actually. It is to respect people's right to self-determination, provided they're not a harm to themselves or someone else, and to provide them with skills that are adaptable to their framework that helps them cope with their issues. And part of the reason for that is because, like, I work in a cross-cultural environment many times. You know, a significant portion of my early work in therapy was with the Native American population. And their practices and certain like things that they might wear or do are like very similar to some of the stuff that we're hearing here, like certain meditative or musical or like all kinds of spiritual practices are there to sort of ward off things that cause them distress, real or imagined, right? And like I would be so out of place to be like, yes, this is all receptive, and what you really need is my Western American non-paranatural psychological view to blunt any of these extravagant ideas. No, it's to work within the framework that respects their identity, practices, and history, while also giving them something practical to do. Because rather than like, oh, you're experiencing anxiety from something that's not real to me, it's more like, let's just focus on the anxiety part. The anxiety is real. You're having a real raise in heart rate, a real physical reaction. I don't really care if the source of it is something I can explain or you can explain. I don't know. I don't have the answers. And this philosophy, I've talked about it before. It comes down to phenomenology. That's what it's called. Phenomenology is the perspective that what someone experiences has inherent meaning because they experienced it, and it's not really about critiquing the reality behind the experience, because then the therapist has to step into this like, I'm the authority on what's real and what's not, and what practices are good and what are bad, and that is not my responsibility. I'm rambling at this point, but all this is to say, I don't think I would be trying to dissolve the mystique that's necessarily around what's happening here, unless it was like leading to serious harm for her and someone else, like immediate harm. Like if she was like, I have to like put Annette in a cage because she's like cursed now, then we would be very concerned about like, okay, what you're perceiving, what's causing your distress, and the response you're having is like very unnatural and harmful. Then we'd be having a different conversation. But anyways, this is something that I would ask, right? I've said this before, like when we talked to the crab man, is I would use the language they're using to kind of bypass my commentary, my critique on whether something is like real or not, right? I would say something like this: is your pendant part of the wards as well? The wards just being a substitute for, does your pendant make you feel secure in this problem? Like, I don't care if it's a ward or not. It's like, it clearly makes her feel safe, and if she believes that it does, then it's probably having a real impact on her parasympathetic nervous system.
Oh, this? No, it's a special Himian amulet, blessed by desert pygmy shamans, with a spell of compulsion. It's to compel people to buy books.
Okay.
There are numerous spells cast throughout the store. I had the books anointed with a different inducement spell, for example. It's guaranteed to boost sales 15%.
So you're telling me that you're believing you're cursed by the demons of past economic mistakes, and in here you're practicing your own little brand of witchcraft to get me to buy your fucking garbage, your garbage books that lie to you and make fun of you for not knowing anything.
Desert pygmy shamans. That sounds like a rather questionable way to describe a group of people.
It is. Thank you, Redrick. What about the wards on the back door?
Yes, the Simonees are very crafty, and their wards are extremely powerful. Lesser wards simply won't do here.
Okay, never mind.
The woman looks aloof, her features much softer. Occasionally she glances at her daughter's silhouette.
She's fascinating. She's clearly got some bizarre ideas. But maybe it helps explain why she is the way that she is. Like, clearly she's invested in, Annette's safety, which seems like Annette has vanished from her usual place. Where did she go? Go check out that furnace. Wait, was there like an area back there that I didn't go to? What is this? Oh yeah, there is. Man, this place is huge. Postcard? What we got here?
An iron safety curtain curves before your eyes, folded like a bellows. It covers half the room, blocking the way into a colossal industrial chimney. This must be where the entity lives.
Oh.
This is directly above the central furnace in the cellar. The voices probably came from here.
Okay, we're gonna shout into the furnace first, and then we'll come back and see if we can interact with the entity.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black.
Oh my god, we got +1 for kicking the furnace. I cannot believe it. Everything is meaningful in this game. Let's yell into it. Not so stupid now, was it, Kim?
Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths. The chatter of tiny voices above suddenly cease. Then,
Hello?
you've awakened the entity.
I summon the ghosts of this doomed commercial area. Answer me, spirit!
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the second floor. I'll open it.
Looks like it.
Oh, whoops.
Looks like an old central furnace used to heat the building. No one has used it in ages. No signs of any recent fire.
Okay, I accidentally clicked on that. Okay, so obviously there's nothing spiritual happening, from what I can tell. But Harry doesn't know that. Harry and Kim are both bought in to the mystery here. Colorful polyhedral dice. Any dispenser has been repurposed. Okay, what do we got here?
Hello. I'm Neha.
Oh. It's kind of reminds me of like the girl with the pearl earring painting. A bird-like woman sits on a throne of tools with emerald light shining through her hair.
Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Melius.
Her presence is so calming.
So what kind of die are you looking for?
Could this be the malicious entity? Perhaps it's wise to go along with this masquerade for now.
She's clearly just a person living her own life. And superstition has clouded Plaisance's judgment. What do you mean by milieu? Must have me confused with someone else. I didn't knock on your window. Yeah, what do you mean by milieu?
Yes, a milieu is like a call-in station. You need a two-way radio to access one. That's why I have these.
Oh no! Oh no! I'm terrified by what I'm thinking. Did fucking Estelle's headphones get pawned and this girl has them now? And she's also forged an important emotional bond with them, and that if I were to ask for them back to give them to Estelle, she would probably say yes because she's so kind, but would secretly be highly disappointed.
Mostly, they just teach you to swear in different languages. But some of the stations can be quite interesting. I was so absorbed, I must have missed you knocking.
You must have been confused with someone else. I haven't knocked on your window. That's true.
Then how did you get inside? By the south entrance? You know what? It doesn't even matter. What matters is that you're finally here. Let's talk dice. Did you have something specific in mind?
Yeah, why are you asking me about dice?
I'm a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you need. That's why you're here, yes?
It wasn't, but it's why I'm here now.
As she speaks, her bone-like fingers fiddle with a ring. Her bones light, but her hands strong.
Sure, I like role-playing games, and I need some dice. I'm not really sure why I'm here, honestly. That's probably the most accurate. I was looking for something else. Answers? I'm a police officer. I'm not really sure why I'm here.
How strange. Well, if you're interested, my rate is 10 real per set, unless you want something really unusual. Take a look around and see if there's any particular stone you want to use.
The walls around her are covered with rows of precious stones and minerals.
This person means you, or no one else, absolutely no harm. She will answer freely and honestly.
Okay. Let's investigate. How did you become a dice maker?
How did I become one? It was a business decision. I was a regular jeweler at first, but that's an unfocused field with too much competition.
She doesn't let it show, but there's anger in there. She doesn't like jewelers. Thinks they're a mob.
Some of my friends were role players. They asked me to make some polyhedral dice out of cobalt. That was my first order. I grew it from there.
Interesting. I'm sitting here thinking, like, is there an actual market for this in this world still? That's pretty incredible. So, maybe what's that fucking game that Lena and Mr. Morel and Gary were playing? Like their little Settlers of Catan thing. Like maybe maybe they've been giving her some business. Do you like role playing games yourself?
Not especially. I like working with rare materials and a steady pay. And role players as customers? They're nice people.
Some of those nice people have big bucks to spend on novelty items.
Okay, I guess there's quite a market for it then.
She's thankful for the security they provide her.
You know what? I'm thankful for that too. And empathy for this person dissolves any of my ideas about like the mystery of the cursed role-playing lab. I feel like Harry is he very much gets attached to like whatever the most recent thing that happens to him is. So like 5 seconds ago it was like, we're going up there to to solve a supernatural crime, and now we're like, so tell me about this dice making business. Like whatever is right in front of us is the priority. Well, we don't have enough money to order a die. What do you know about the man who was? Do you know anything about the guy who was murdered outside your window? We'll come back to that. Where are we, anyways? What is this
We're
place?
inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know.
She looks at the ruddy bricks that make up the walls. Even though they've been repainted, there are still signs of coal black soot here and there.
But when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build myself a makeshift home. Besides, I don't really have to pay any rent here, so that's a plus.
It is a beautiful little setup she's got.
Plaisance was right. There's an entity living in the chimney. You should ask her about the curse. Does it mean she's unlawfully occupying a part of the house? Shameful.
Creative.
It's too many voices. There's too many voices vying for what my opinion should be. The lieutenant looks around the spacious room, its ceiling fading into the shadows above. Look, far be it from me to critique anyone for wanting free rent.
When she arrived here, there was no room anywhere else. She must have known the other businesses.
Do you know what happened to the other tenants? Everyone else is gone.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone specific?
Oh, quite a lot of them spring to mind. Rats scuttle in the dark rooms under the abandoned blow dryers and dusty mannequins. Cobwebs cover rotors and radio computers alike. So much failure.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious about all of these things. There used to be a hair salon here, right?
Yes, I think it was called Androgynous Orlando or something similar. They weren't a big hit around here. Turns out that working class men don't like genderless haircuts. They're scared of that word.
You wouldn't like it either. The others would laugh at you.
What others?
It's not about the haircut. It's about the confidence.
I agree. What's wrong with a bit of experimenting? The customer should have been more open-minded. Yeah.
I guess it just wasn't the time yet.
What happened to the gym?
It wasn't merely a gym, it was Artemiteps Boxing Club, a community project created to steer at-risk youth away from drugs and crime.
So, like, the more that we're getting real information, the less and less the purposeful, personalized mystery of what's behind the curtain, and it's here for me, and the curse, like, it kind of feels naturally dissolving for Harry, where he's like, oh yeah, of course, there's real explanations for all of this. And, for example, the salon died because the culture wasn't ready for it. And there's probably some very real explanation for why the boxing club ended too. Who was Artemitep?
A kind man from Zemsk. I heard he had some trouble with the law when he was younger, and that's why he wanted to start the gym, as his way of giving back.
Maybe that's what Kuno needs, a community-centric boxing club. Yes.
Kuno. Who's Kuno?
Let me tell you. He's sort of the king around here. Indeed. Who is Kuno? Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, you mean the kid with the sailor's mouth? Yes, I've heard him yelling profanities in the backyard.
She looks out the window, her face reflecting back in the dark.
I think it would take more than a gym to help that kid.
It would be a good start. How did that community project work out?
It didn't. If anything, it made the youth situation in Martinez even worse. At some point, someone started a rumor that the punching bag downstairs was full of amphetamines.
So yeah, once again, no mystical or religious explanation needed. Someone started using it as a place to store drugs.
You should have known it. It's not really full of that. No one would store their drugs like that.
Eventually, the coalition took away the funding and the club went bankrupt. This was a few years ago. It's gotten much more peaceful around the plaza ever since.
Or maybe that didn't happen, but there was enough of a rumor around it. I don't know. The mystery was funner than the reality, which is just life fucking sucks, and people are generally kind of out to get each other and take advantage of whatever situation they can. And that just leads to a lot of issues, societal issues. Look, it's hard to spend time in reality when it's sad. What's up with the broken windows?
Oh, this one's a mess. There used to be a company that promised to repair windows 24 hours a day. What could go wrong with this one, right?
People would break them because they knew they'd get repaired.
Turns out the business was actually set up as a front for an illicit group that was producing snuff medias. Who would have guessed?
God damn it. Can I just go back to this being a curse and a weird mystical phenomenon? The reality is too frigid.
And they never cleaned up the debris either. Now it's just littering the hallway, and I have no idea how to get rid of it on my own.
It turns out people are just monsters. Cool. Very cool about the debris. But what's a snuff milieu?
It's a sub rosa radio station that broadcasts real murders with real victims. Some people pay good money to get off on it.
What does she mean to get off on it?
Don't worry, the ICP has a separate division that deals exclusively with unlicensed sub-roses. This isn't our problem.
Good luck with that. It's not easy catching those perpetrators.
Oh my god, there's so... every single one of these is going to have a very real, grounded purpose for why it happened. And it's due to probably human greed, desperation, or a desire to enact violence or exploit. This was much more fun when she was a mysterious dark entity. Did someone here make stuffed animals? I saw mounts lying around.
You mean Mr. Fabron, the taxidermist? No, he mostly just did drugs.
But what drugs exactly?
I need to know what drugs he was doing for my police report.
He got high on some weird taxidermy chemicals.
Of course he did.
I wouldn't recommend it to
There's the
anyone.
desperation.
Eventually, they caused him to lose control of his bladder. The smell was awful.
Even you can probably do better than that. You can almost see it. A small, sickly old man, hunched behind his work desk, his pants stained with old piss, stuffing a sad, stiff-legged raccoon dog. The entire scene looks tragic.
But in some ways, it does make sense to me that, like, look, the reality of why all this stuff happens is sometimes hard to face. People are addicted to drugs, and there's a million reasons why. Mental health reasons, yes, even some political, economic ones that influence that. The world around these people was clearly like falling apart for a while due to some of the political situations. And exactly like I was saying earlier, when that feels like too big of an idea for me to feel like I'm in control of, I don't know, the meaning I may make out of it is that like it's this other unexplained phenomenon. And rather than face what these people faced, let's say I'm Plaisance, and some of the real problems they had that just led to like natural decline in their businesses, she can attribute any issues to like, you know, the curse. And she can feel like she's doing something about it, even though she's really not. And she can make herself feel like she is doing better financially because she's got a pendant that increases her book sales. Like, that's the other side of phenomenology where people sort of delude themselves into things being better than they are. But again, as my role in life as a therapist is like, you gotta respect people's right to self-determination. You're not there to correct their behaviors unsolicited. You're there to provide them with corrective measures to behaviors they present and maybe guide them to some that are related that they don't perceive, but that's just not the level of advocacy for someone like me to change someone's worldview necessarily. I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, tell me about the mannequins.
There used to be a fashion atelier here, but I have forgotten the head designer's name. They were doing well for a couple of years until the insect rights activists came.
What?
The atelier produced a certain collection that used chitin among the materials. Apparently, chitin is made in the Occident, where it's extracted from beetle wings. And you know how all kinds of political movements are big in the Occident. The activists shut down the biggest chitin supplier, which of course caused the price to skyrocket.
Of course.
And, naturally, all the most fashionable tastemakers refused to be seen in chitin from then on. The atelier went bankrupt before they could finish the collection.
So in this instance, it was, yeah, but political movements on a highly niche subject that started to adjust social perception of the acceptability of wearing this thing. This is also depressing. Insects don't have any brains or feelings.
Actually, insects do have brains, but yes, I understand what you're saying. I think the protesters took it a little too far.
You know what? Thank you, Novelty Dice Maker, for correcting me.
Anything else?
I guess they do have brains, but feelings, no. What's with the rotor blades and skis?
They were made by a company called Slipstream. After they pivoted from making rotor blades to skis, their chief executive took off on a vacation with all their money.
This is so depressing. People are fucking the worst.
Honestly, I think it's quite funny. I think he's still sending out holiday transmissions from Tulula or Tiumotiri or Hashtkor or wherever he is.
What do these transmissions say?
The usual, I imagine. That he's been thinking up all kinds of new business plans and can't wait to get started on them just as soon as he returns.
Her smile widens before she sees the lieutenant's face behind you.
Men like that are a curse.
And that's the truth. That's the real curse, which is just people being fucking shitty.
Sure, but Slipstream is history now. All their remaining assets got seized by the bailiffs in 47. I have no idea why those skis and blades are still lying around in the house. Not much use now, I guess.
They were just the props. Why return them? Maybe you could make a sword out of one. No, wait, forget it. It would take too long.
Thank you, interfacing, for that very salient point. I already have a sword. I found a strange machine.
Fortress Accident, the radio game studio.
She closes her eyes as some remnant of a memory lights up on her face.
She liked them.
They were an interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw two of them get into fisticuffs over Wirral. They certainly took their work very seriously, even if they seemed to be chronically liberal with their schedules.
What do you mean liberal? What happened?
The usual. They ran out of money and couldn't get the project done on time.
What went wrong?
Well, I did hear them talking at times.
She looks at the hallway as if she can still hear them chit-chatting behind her curtains on a cigarette break.
They seemed to believe they were historical individuals on some grand quest.
From what I've seen so far, the project did look quite impressive.
Yes, but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about capitalism. You know, how the markets are rigged to keep out new businesses and so on.
And this is the other side of that, which is, yes, a lot of the things that she described were politically driven or forces of political nature. But in this case, the deflection was not on something mystical. It was like it was their own use of their time and funding, and the deflection was on the political stuff.
In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something truly historic and to show up to work on time.
Like, it all circles around, look, people will deflect blame and meaning to basically anything that feels like it's a bigger force than them, because it's hard to face the agency that they really do have over the situations in their lives. Like, maybe the instance of the person I was talking about earlier who's like, oh, well, I could just say a prayer for this unhoused person. That's enough. That's doing something. Like, I get where the solace comes from, but to me, it's like, no, there's really something more practical you could be doing. You could be donating to initiatives to help that community, food drives, volunteer work, literally anything else that you'll actually have some concrete idea of it doing something. And there's no need to deflect it into, well, this is a bigger thing than my responsibility. Oh, well, it's capitalism. Capitalism's the reason we couldn't get our project off the ground. Well, no, it probably was some of your own behaviors and creative blocks.
She's right. Showing up to work on time is important. Showing up to work on time is hard. No, scratch that. Showing up to work at all is difficult, especially if you've been drinking.
That's too bad. I would have supported them. The project looked great.
Not the wisest decision. You would have lost all your savings.
That's what we probably would have. We're pretty much an idealist. She tosses a pair of dice on the table. One of them stops near the edge of the metallic desk.
The dice is black and filled with little silvery flakes, like snowfall.
Anything else?
There was a terrifying taxidermied bear in the cellar.
Oh boy, the fabled Revachol ICT. You're in for a treat here.
She smiles and leans closer, hands on her knees, like a stand-up comedian ready to tell a story.
The place was owned by two guys who had some rather innovative ideas about marketing. The bear was one of them. Now ask me about their other ideas.
Okay, what about the other ideas?
There was really just one. And it involved picking out the prettiest girls in the neighborhood and paying them 20 cents per hour to man the booth. And by man the booth, I mean slump behind the counter with a face that could maim you if you ever dared to disturb their bored magazine browsing.
Sounds like she really didn't like those girls.
Mm-hmm.
Fritta does the same thing.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that's the kind of face that you get from Fritta Girl. Oh my god, who would have guessed that we would get some Fritta Girl crumbs in some other place in the story? And it's just crumbs, folks. The character with the most potential for development has been relegated to mere crumbs, referenced only in other characters' dialogue. What did they expect? 20 cents per hour is dog's pay. I'm surprised they showed up to work at all. Yeah, that's really fair. We've critiqued that already. I know a girl just like that. She works in Fritta as a cashier, and she's not particularly friendly.
Employing silky teenage girls is a widespread practice, yes. Unfortunately, they always come in packs. I'm talking about acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla-like boyfriends loitering near the shop. At least that's what happened with Revachol ICT. And they already had the bear.
What about the bear?
The bear.
She repeats, pressing thumbs into her temples, trying to suppress a headache. It didn't work out.
Of course not. The bear was terrifying. No one wants ice cream guarded by a hostile apex predator. To make matters worse, the fridge didn't work too well either, and half the ice cream came out malformed and partially melted. Eventually, Ravenshaw Ice City lost the price war to its rival, Class A 5000. Class A 5000 sold caramel sundaes for only 5 cents a piece, out of regular fridges.
Yeah, that's the market doing its job. The bear was scary. Every time I saw that bear, I felt scared, like it could become alive any moment
The
now.
taxidermist who made it said it was his vision beast. He said he met his vision beast while high on desiccants. He called it Megatherion.
Scary, but cool.
Very cool. That's a vision
It's
beast.
an imaginary beast that guides you through life by telling you to do more drugs, mostly.
A wise and noble beast, guiding you toward the land where the streets are paved with drugs.
I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. I'm trying to stay clean here.
Very good. You shouldn't do them. You're a police officer after all.
That's right.
Anyway, now you know the story of the fallen ice cream empire.
Oh.
The temperature has dropped in the cover of the night. You see frost on the windows.
Anything else?
I kinda
Another
wanna
failed
know-
business, perhaps? I've been here for a long time.
Yeah, well, I do want to know what she has to say about that other comment about Pretty Girl making a dog's pay.
Oh boy. The place was owned by two. There was really and by.
Sounds like Fritte does the same thing.
Oh, but they did. They did show up to work, and not alone. There were also acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla, and they
Okay.
already had the. Of course, eventually, Ravenshaw Ice City lost the price war to its rival, Class A 5000.
Let's try this one.
Maybe. Because the taxidermist who made the bear definitely wasn't. Doing his job, I mean. He said that the bear was his vision beast.
Scary, but cool.
Megatherion, a mega wild beast.
What is a mega
It's
wild
an
beast?
imaginary beast that by telling you to
A wise and noble beast, guiding you toward the land where the streets are paved with drugs.
So it's just basically the same with a couple of different variations. So why not just go with this? Curious what she says. I've got a vision beast
do
myself.
you? Well, good luck keeping it under control. Anyway, now you know.
The temperature has dropped.
Anything else? Another failed business, perhaps?
I like that
I've
she
been
doesn't.
here for a long time.
She doesn't feel the need to comment on my life, really. I found the building's intercom, but it's not working.
Oh, right. I hope you didn't try to ring me. I think none of those doorbells work, including mine. I'm still in the middle of connecting the wires. Sorry about the confusion.
The doorbell with the empty name card must belong to her then.
Is yours the empty name card?
That's right. I haven't even written my name there. As I said, it's quite useless right now. It doesn't work yet.
Is the Whirling in Rags a part of the same complex?
You could say so. Both houses were built at the same time and under the East Delta Commerce Center project. That explains why you can call the whirling from the intercom, albeit I doubt that anyone responds.
If the whirling is part of the same building, then it's part of the doomed commercial area. The darkness of this place is there, too.
East Delta Pinball. I don't know. This game is so subversive that it makes me think that, like, first layer, it's a curse. There's something mysterious. It's all paranatural. Second layer, actually, no. This is just a bunch of real failed economic situations and people who were either depressed, exploitative, ignorant, or whatever that led to just natural decline. And then third layer will be like, actually, there was something supernatural. There really is a dark presence. Like, maybe there really is a fucking spirit, and all of this real stuff is just its machinations on the world. Ah, we're back! We're back in the delusion! East Delta Pinball.
Yes, I've heard it used to be a gaming arcade. This is an ancient failure. Before my time. I'm not surprised, however.
You know, this is something the cafeteria manager might want to know.
God, she knows everything.
My advice, don't base your business on a fad. Hypnotism, florography, trick track, especially pinball.
This means the whirling is part of the doomed commercial area. Gart is gonna love
I
this.
don't know this guard, but something tells me he won't.
A strange thing happened when I tried calling a company named Slipstream SCA. Someone answered.
It can't be true. They don't work here anymore. They've been gone for years. Are you sure it was Slipstream SCA? Was it a woman? Maybe it was Plaisance from the bookstore.
I know her and would have recognized her voice.
Oh, right. But did this person say anything?
She said she was from Tricentennial Electrics.
Tricentennial Electrics? It used to be a major electric company 100 years ago. Are you sure it wasn't just some kid playing a prank on you?
I knew it! There is something paranatural
No.
going on.
It was something else. It was eerie. Whatever happened, keep your cool. It's probably better to admit that it was a harmless prank.
You're right. I probably just got made fun of.
Oh, the kids these days. We were just one of them, and now they're terrorizing us. No solidarity.
But secretly, I will investigate it.
Sure, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's sure. I'm good. I hope it clarified things a bit.
Man, she has
What
so much
else?
information. Did you know that this place is called the doomed commercial area?
I've heard the stories, but I don't think those stories are true.
Okay, this is where we get her real take. Like, is there something paranatural going on? Is it just a bunch of realistic failed endeavors? Or is the presence of the curse what drove these people mad? And the realistic downfall is just the natural evidence to a paranatural cause. How do you explain
It's
it?
just capitalism. We only hear about tales of success, so it's often surprising to realize how many ventures actually fail.
Aha! She's in the political delusion. It's actually a curse. Plaisance is the one who sent me. She's convinced that the place is swarming with malicious
Plaisance,
energies.
the bookshop lady? I've heard that her business is doing rather well. Have the energies spared her somehow?
Actually, the bookstore isn't doing that well. There are hardly any customers, and she has to exploit her own daughter to keep the company going.
Oh, right. But it's not just the bookstore that's still up and running. What about the whirling in racks? Some people say it's part of the building complex.
No, the whirling isn't doing well either. Its waitress just took off, and customers have trouble paying
And
bills.
then there is me.
She sighs, looking at her messy work table. All kinds of tools lie scattered there, from knives to carving files to wire cutters.
I've been here for 14 years, selling novelty dice to role-playing enthusiasts. Not exactly a million-real business idea, yet somehow I've survived despite the talk of malicious energies. Strange, isn't it?
It is
It's because
strange.
she's in cahoots with the demons.
Of course she is. It's because you're competent and the curse doesn't affect people like you. There are many inconsistencies. Plaisance thinks it's because you're the source of it, a malignant entity.
Malignant entity? What does that even mean? Some kind of sorceress? What about you, officer? Do you think I'm the malignant entity?
I don't know.
The jig is up. The she-demon knows you've uncovered her true identity.
Ah!
Time has come to face the source. Fear not, for the forces of the universe are supporting you in this psychic quest.
I'm starting to see that there is no curse, only business decisions and natural market fluctuations. Honestly, I'm still not sure. This is a puzzling place, and this is most true to my opinion. Everything I've talked about from the beginning of this episode, which I have to finish because I have to get going, is like, I think there's, if I go with the phenomenology, What has really happened is real people made bad decisions, leading to real economic, political, emotional decline. That is reality, whatever we attribute that to. And that's the world I work in. How do I help people move through their life stable and happy? The source of it is a too big of an idea for me to feel like I'm able to solve. And I don't know. It could very well be that like these decisions were made because there is a mysterious malignant entity driving those psychological forces. Or it could just be the natural inner nature of humans to make decisions to take shortcuts with long-term consequences in their lives and everyone else's. So I don't know. This is a mystery to me.
Is it now?
Yes.
I've always thought it's a rather mundane and boring place with no supernatural surprises in sight.
What an exciting way to live.
Well, if you ever find a way to explain all those inconsistencies in the curse, let me know.
We have to get to the bottom of this.
Plaisance is not going to like what you have to tell her.
I don't know what to tell her. I've not decided yet.
The bookstore closes starting 2100. You'll have to do that tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Let's ask about the murder real quick.
Nothing really.
The lieutenant looks at his notebook.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard. You're saying you didn't see or hear anything unusual last Sunday evening?
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I usually have my headphones on when I'm working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window.
What daily ruckus?
There's always something going on in the Whirling's backyard. During daytime, there are usually those kids. And lately, I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about. Must be because of the strike.
She's not sorry to disappoint you. Informing on someone in a murder investigation would intrude upon her focused existence.
But I never saw anyone during that fateful Sunday night, I'm afraid.
You never took your eyes off the work to look out the window.
I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is my own reflection staring back from the darkness. It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside. Besides, I rarely get up to look out the window when I'm in the zone.
You often work Sunday
It's an odd
nights.
profession, making dice for people, but I like it. And I prefer doing this to sitting at home.
Okay.
She nods.
Anything else, officer?
All right. Maybe we'll come back.
Hey. Psst. Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again.
Again.
Yes, you're ready to start building communism again. You've built it before. They've built it before. Hasn't really worked out yet. But neither has love. Should we just stop building love, too?
I guess I can't argue with that.
So, what about all that communism you've promised to build? Word on the street is you've woken up from 1,000 years of slumber, promising to erect a version of communism many times greater than any attempted before. Is that true?
No, it's not true, and I don't know where this is coming from. How come there's this word on
You
the
keep
street?
saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pocket, literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff.
I've said some mildly left-wing things, but none of those. That's probably the most accurate. I haven't said any of that stuff. But yes, I have critiqued and commented on political failings, people's failings, the sad reality of many people who don't have much opportunity to get by in their life because of the decisions of less than 1% of the population who are in control of all the wealth. Is that communism? I don't know. You tell me.
Oh yes, the Mask of ambivalence. Don't deny it. You're about to rip it off and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that would devour and masticate mankind.
The mask of ambivalence. Oh my god, that's me.
Everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it?
It's too tiring. I don't have it in me. I'm beat down and broken. What is this communism even about? Truly, I'm seeking to be informed here.
Failure. It's about failure.
Okay. Tell me about failure.
Yes, abject failure. Total, irreversible defeat on all fronts. Absolutely vanquished, beaten, curb-stomped and pissed on. Until you came along. You will reverse the fortune of the workers of the world.
I mean, maybe a little bit.
You alone, against every living thing, against every human alive. 800 trillion real in the hands of an impossibly well-organized ruling class. Towering city blocks of bankmen who have the ears of prime ministers. Million-headed armies of nations and the love of your own mother. You against the atom, the charm and the spin, where the whole world failed. Matter failed to bend to human will. Human will failed to get out of bed and tie its laces. You alone, single-handedly, will rebuild the dreams of the working class. You are the last communist. Now get to work, comrade.
I don't know, dude. Should I opt in just to leave the door open to explore this side of the world if I desire and completely skip over it if I don't want to? The closer I get to the end of the game, I'm more willing to be open-minded to just seeing parts of the game that we may have missed, because I am not doing another playthrough of this. Certainly not this way. Maybe privately in my own life at some point in 10 years I'll play this game again, but not if it takes me a year to play. It's a one and done thing. The thing is I don't buy into this really, what it's just talked about. Like, I don't feel like I'm this person. This is a tough decision. Yeah, look, I feel like the people who really want to see this quest line, me comment on this quest line, I will reveal so much of my ignorance in it that I don't know if it's worth it. As much as it might be nice to explore this side of the world, it has not been a major part of our playthrough. And we have already defined Harry's character as being someone who sees political structure as part of the framework for human development as being a deflection. Not to say that politics itself is a deflection, but like the hyper focus on it as like, well, it's the source of all of the problems. For us, it's been a deflection from real emotional stuff, and Estelle has commented on that. We can see that in what the Dice Maker is saying, where she's like, oh yes, like this is all capitalism, when that's sort of like putting some distance between like people's own decisions that were of course influenced by the system that they're in, but kind of dissolve some of their own agency and just making decisions to take advantage of other people or to be lazy. It's not consistent with our playthrough, really. And so I'm not going to opt in. I'm sorry if this upsets someone or everyone, but you know, it's just, I got to stick with the roleplay. I am too tiring. I really don't have it in me to to add this as a major pillar of our character's development at this stage. So I'm going to opt out.
Very well. I guess no one will build communism then. Tell the working man it's over, unless anyone has objections. No objections. It's mathematically impossible to achieve a classless society. Everyone knows this. Let not failure ensnare you any further, beautiful pixie girl. Be an acrobat, a prancing fairy queen. Did someone mention cocaine? Are we doing cocaine? No. I'm sure I heard someone say cocainism.
I love how our mind is just fucking losing itself now.
Anyone? Anyone else? There's no one. There's one.
Volition, yes, chime in, save me from my mind's own fucking collapse. What should I do?
You should build communism. Precisely because it's impossible.
That's not what I wanted you to say. Volition, I thought you were there to be in my best interest, and you want me to go on a political quest that I am really not attuned for. No, shut up. I want to lie down and let the water carry me downstream. But should I listen to Volition? Has it steered me wrong before? Yes, it has. I don't even know what this means to build communism. This is not my world. I don't know. Fuck it. Why not?
Oh yeah. Get the firing squads and the animal wagons ready.
Whatever. I don't even know what that means. I didn't say anything about firing
Too
squads.
late to back out now.
No.
You can't make an omelette without breaking a few million eggs.
Whatever. I'm so confused. I will need your help, community, to navigate this very confusing world that I just haphazardly stepped into. Because my natural instinct is to say, no, I don't want to fucking bother with any of that shit. But I feel like Harry is easily persuaded by the soothing encouragement of Volition. So that's what we're gonna do, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll just ignore it anyways, but maybe it'll give us some more options in dialogue that we haven't explored before. Well, this was a very long episode, and we actually didn't do any of the stuff that I was saying I would do at the beginning of it, which was talk to Suna. And that's generally kind of how my little life plans go as well. Like when I talked about, what I'm doing with Harry is what I do with myself. I pace around and I say what I'm going to do, and then I often end up accomplishing maybe 35% of it, and then something else distracts me, and I do that instead. But eventually I do the original thing, just not in the way that I had originally planned, which is kind of how this playthrough has gone the entire time. So it is really fitting and thematic and consistent. So that's going to be our episode for today. And next time we will try again to do what we said we were going to do. And I guess we're a communist now. Although I'm not sold totally, but I'm at least curious to see what sort of options it gives us. So until next time.